Welcome everybody, come on in. Let me grab my other device. It is a beautiful day here in San Diego. We had a couple of glitches and hiccups this morning, but get thee behind me, Satan. Just pull myself up here. Hi Joyce. I hope you guys got the message and the telegram. Let me turn my do not disturb on. There, and let's get back to where we were. Hey Robin, Sharon, sorry guys, I was hoping to be live on the Diva Designs page this morning, but here's the deal, our page is too new. Our page is too new, and they said that we cannot go live for 60 days. I just felt like that was just the enemy trying to discourage me, and we're not going to let that happen, right? Can I get an amen, sisters? Because it's just been one thing after another. So Jersey got slushy snow. Oh my gosh, that's terrible. So welcome. I am going to share this over right now. Over to, let me see if I can get it here. I can't. I don't know. I don't know if I can share it over there. Hang on. I think I need to be logged in as Diva Designs and then share it. Hey Tana, Sandy. Good morning, good morning. All right, let me share it here to the group. All right, posting. All right, so you did get the message. Okay, great. Yeah, so it's been a challenging morning. It's been a challenging week anyway, but that's the thing. Here's the thing about faith is that you got to keep pushing through, all right? There's a plan and a purpose for everything, for whatever reason, right? You can hardly wait. Okay, we're going to start from the beginning. We're going to start from the basics because there's a lot of you here that that have not really been successful with stenciling, and I really want to get rid of all your fears. Okay, that's right. That is absolutely right, Kathy. It will work out. It will work out. I'm so glad you got the telegram. So those of you who are new to me, I am Mara LaFay, Vintage Retail Therapy by Mara / Diva Designs. And how the new name came about, I've been designing stencils for about 4 years now. I started with JRV Stencils, and then after about a year of designing with them, I branched off and started my own company. Initially, my stencils were branded under Vintage Retail Therapy by Mara. Good morning, Robin and Molly. And then I decided, oh gosh, about 3 or 4 months ago, to change the name of the stencils, start a new page, which we're not on yet, but we will be in 60 days, and kind of go from there, and really just kind of focus on the stencils, because I don't know about you, but I just feel like stencils up your game for just about any project, right? It gives you that just a little bit extra that you're gonna need, and we're like guacamole, baby. We're extra, right? So let's get the camera down. First of all, let's start. Hey, Laurel. Let's start with if you have any questions. I know a lot of you said when I did poll you on the page. I'm not sure if it's there now. When I did poll you on the page, I would say the #1 reason for unsuccessful stenciling is bleed through, right? Bleed through. So we're going to dispel that. We're going to do just a little bit of hands-on. It's just going to be quick. We're not going to just be all day about it. We're going to take this in small little bite-sized segments, because you can use stencils raised. You can use them with velvet powder. You can use them with foil. You can use them on fabric, on wood, on plastic, on metal. There's not one place that I can think of that you can't use a stencil. Good morning, Patricia. Everybody's popping in. Hey, Kimberly. Sorry, we're not on the page today. It is a Facebook page. I've never heard of a page needing to be 60 days old before you can go live, but for whatever reason, that's the deal. So we are going to play with the cards that we have, right? We're going to make lemonade out of lemons, and it's not going to be a horrible thing. The lesson still goes on. Good morning, Regine and Sandy and Karen and Kim and Sheila. Welcome. So let's talk about stencils for a minute. Hey, Linda. Stencils come in various mils, okay? And what that means is the thickness of the stencil. So obviously the thicker the mill, the higher the raise you can get in your stencil. So you want to get a good morning, Kathy and Dolores. You want to get a good quality stencil because If not, first of all, it's not going to last you. It's not going to be durable. I love our stencils because you buy them once and you'll have them forever. They're really great quality. They're 10 mil, and it makes a big difference. It makes a really, really big difference. Second, we're going to talk about brushes. Thank you so much. We're going to talk about brushes because not all stencil brushes are created equal. So things to look for in a stencil brush. I have a few here that are kind of on their way out. I try to take really, really good care of them. Thank you for sprinkling. I do have an obsession with my brushes. I like big brushes, and I cannot lie. However, there's a time and a place for smaller brushes. So right now we are in the process of trying to get our own brush line, but for right now, we carry these brushes and they're in different sizes. There's a 1 1/4, there's a 1 inch, there's a 1/2 inch, and there's a 3/8 of an inch. Okay, thank you, Sandy. The reason that there are 4 different sizes, because it really just depends on what area you're wanting to stencil in, or if you want to get different colors. Say, what is the highest mil you can buy? 10 is pretty typical. Once in a while you'll find a 12 mil, but I would say all the way across the board, 10 is what's the deal. Let me see, Debbie says, let's see. Yes, exactly, Debbie. I was so disappointed this morning, I almost wanted to cry. No, not gonna let that happen. So these are the 4 brushes. However, there's a couple things you want to know about a good quality stencil brush because they make all the difference. Good morning, Susie. If you're not using a good quality brush, what's going to happen is your brush is going to start, can you see how this is kind of fanning out like this? And I've actually taped this. Sometimes they get worse. The reason why you don't want to use a brush that's fanned out like that, good morning, Donna, Sybil, is because it's going to get underneath your stencil. And this is one of the reasons why you have bleed through, is because you're not using a good stencil. I have had my stencil brushes for years. I take really, really good care of them. These are at least a few years old. You can see they have not lost their shape at all. They don't lose hairs. Really important, because who's got time to pick hairs out of your project, right? They are JRV stencils. It's the company that I used to design for. We do carry them in our shop. We're looking for a stencil brush, but my thing is I want it to be made in the USA. So is this the same brand? Yes, this is the same brand, but this is not. This is a different brand. I won't say which one it is. And you can see it's starting to, and I've had this for years, it's not horrible, but you can see how the bristles are starting to kind of spread out like that. Those brushes, if they start doing that, I'm going to tell you, there's a couple of things you can do to help, because you want your bristles to stay tight together, okay? Because you don't want them to be sliding out underneath there all hanky-janky. Good morning, Micheline. So I would recommend, if you have, because sometimes it's not always in the budget to get new brushes, and I get that. If you have a stencil brush that is not a good quality, see, here's another one. Look at that. Can you see? And this one actually has all little pieces. I don't know if you can see that. There's some raised pieces in there. Thank you, Liz. There's some raised pieces in here, and this is going to start spreading even more, and then it's going to start going underneath your stencil. So if you have a stencil brush that's hanky-janky, you want to keep your bristles tight together. I would recommend taping your bristles together like this, okay? If you already have a brush and you're not in the market for a new brush, you can tape your bristles together like this to keep them nice and compact and nice and taut, okay? So that's a great tip. You can use this tape, you can use any kind of tape, okay? Yeah, USA, all the way, baby. Another thing I want to talk about, let's talk about brush design. This portion right here is called the ferrule of a brush. Every brush has got one. You do not ever want to dip paint so that it reaches into your ferrule. In fact, you really just want to get those tips, and your brush should never have more than like that much paint on it. Why, you may ask? I'm glad you did. because, first of all, the paint that's all the way down here, thank you, Denise, is never going to make its way. It's never going to make its way. I see people dipping it in there, and it's all up in here. Again, look at my brushes. I've had these for years. There's not even any stains up here, really. Okay, most of my bristles are only stained at the top because I very, very rarely will use enough paint to get it all the way down. Linda says, after I clean my stencil brushes, I use tape or plastic wrap to keep the brushes safe. No, it's not a waste of time. It's always a good idea. I don't do that with my brushes because they are, they don't fan out like that. But if you have a brush that fans out, absolutely, by all means. You just want to make sure that it gets really dry before you use it because you don't want it to rust down in your ferrule. So you may want to store them this way. And I tell you what I found not too long ago. I found actually at the dollar store, because I am kind of a cheapie by nature sometimes. I spend the money on the things that I can't replace with something else that's less expensive. Does that make sense? Do you have to wash up there and the bristles loosen? I don't typically, I mean, I will get soap in there. We're going to talk about care of your brushes and your stencils. But I found actually it is for makeup brushes, and it's a little plastic holder, and it's got like little U-shaped plastic bits. So I store my brushes when they're drying. I store them this way, not this way, okay? Because if you're storing them this way as they're drying, all that water is kind of pooling down into the ferrule. So I would prefer you store them this way, or even just flat. If you have to store them this way, it's okay. Just don't leave them there for a long time, okay? So let's talk about, we've talked about bristles, we've talked about brushes, we've talked about the ferrule of the brush. Let's talk about cleaning. Cleaning is really, really important. Not only your stencil, but your stencil brushes. Again, they will stain. This is a brand new brush. There are no stains on this. This is my brushes that I've had for years. So they do kind of stain from the paint, but they're absolutely clean. There's never any loose hairs. You stuck one above your sink and dry them also from the Dollar Tree. Yes, I love, speaking of Dollar Tree, I love, and we do have stencil cleaner here actually, but I'm gonna tell you the best tip I've ever learned. The awesome cleaner from the Dollar Tree. I feel like I should be getting commission now from the Dollar Tree because you're all gonna go out and buy one. Hey Candace, good morning, Robin. The awesome cleaner from the Dollar Tree works fabulous to clean your brushes and to clean your stencils. This is my replacement, but I actually have one that's got a spray bottle. So first I would say right after you use them, put them in water. Don't let the paint dry in there because it's gonna take you that much more work to get that clean. I don't wanna do any extra work, do you? I don't. I'd rather be creating. So put them in warm soapy water. A lot of the times if I'm going to be using metallics or if I'm going to be using any type of adhesives or glue, I usually put a little bit of this in my bucket, in my brush bucket, so that I get them in there and start soaking them right away. Okay, you can also use this to clean your stencils. I actually had metallic paint on this particular stencil, and I just spray it. I let it sit for a few minutes, and then I go in and clean it. If my brush is dirty, you have awesome to clean everything. Yeah, you use a baby bottle dryer to hold your brushes. That's awesome, Tina. Let me get the camera up and then down a little bit. All right. I will usually take my stencil with my brush, and a lot of the times I'll clean the brush and the stencil at the same time. Round circular motions. If you have a stencil that has a lot of thin little points that may be persnickety, I don't have any here. I don't have any persnickety ones here. But sometimes you'll see like little pieces, like these little pieces here. I didn't clean this one very good. Shame on me. I should have. But you see these little pieces here. You don't ever want to go against, okay? You don't ever want to go against that. You always want to go in the same direction as your points because you're going to put pressure on that and it may have a tendency to kink. Sometimes they get kinky anyway. Just saying. Sometimes they do. However, you can just kind of ever so slightly, like this one has a little bit of a kink in it, bend that back, okay? So that's a great tip for that. Also, look around, and I don't always clean them with brushes. Sometimes I actually will go in, believe it or not, there's some stencil, like this stencil here, the Harmony stencil. I use this. I use this because there's nothing here that's going to kink up, and I can just scrub that. Go easy, not hard, but if you have pieces that are going to kink up on you, do not use a stiff bristle brush. Another thing I've used, believe it or not, 320 sanding paper, a little 320 sanding block. There are times when I have usually metallics that are persnickety. I'll just go in ever so slightly and just clean them this way. Okay, so a very, very light sanding brush. You hang your brushes after cleaning them by their handle in the cabinet drawers. Absolutely. If you can, you can't always, but if you can, dry them down so the water pools out and not into your ferrule, because your ferrule will rust. It absolutely will rust. Another thing, these are unconventional. I don't even know where I got them. Kim brought them in from our shop, to our shop. I don't even know what this is. I tried to look it up, but can you see how it has those raised, your raised edges there? This is great. If you can find something like that, or even find something like this, it really gets, can you see how it really gets in there and cleans? Really gets in there and cleans it really, really well. This is another one. Cleans it really well. So always go in a circular motion. Sometimes if there's paint here, you can go this way. Don't ever try to spread these out so much so that you're cleaning inside. Okay? I hope that makes sense. Any other questions? Hi, Diane. Camera's a little crooked there. So let's get started. What do you think? So we talked about how to clean your stencils. We talked about what to use to clean your stencils, what to look for in a stencil and a brush. Makeup brush cleaners are good too. They're usually a little plastic, anything with a raised area. A raised area will always kind of agitate those bristles a little bit. Again, but it really just depends on your brush. You really want a good brush. You don't want your brushes to start doing this, okay? It looks like a plastic top that goes over ceiling lighting. Donna, it works great. I'm not sure where Kim got it from, but it works great. So is this. This is some kind of a cleaning scrubby. I'm not sure where she found it, but this is really, and you can see as your brush is going in there, how it's really, really cleaning it. All right, so let's talk about actually stenciling. Again, you can layer your stencil. There are times where I want to do more than one stencil. So there are times that this one, I'm going to show you this one. This is a perfect example. There are 3 stencils on here in different colors. Okay, so there's a stencil here. Right over that, there's a little bit of a honeycomb stencil. There's crackle here, and there's crackle here in 2 different colors. So you can absolutely layer over your stencils. And you can also, and we're going to be doing a little bit more of that as we go. So basically we're just doing basics today. And then as we start doing lives, we're going to be going into a little bit more advanced techniques. But I really felt like it was important to kind of start at the beginning, because there are so many people. Let me know in the comments, from 1 to 10, what is your skill level on stenciling? And what is it that you're struggling with? I would say 90% of you that are having a hard time are struggling with the fact that you're getting bleed through, okay? If it's something different, let me know. So you can also use stencils as a first layer. If you love mixed media is my jam, but I always, not always, I would say 90% of the time, I always start with a stencil, because it just creates a beautiful backdrop. Okay, this is our cottage lace stencil. This is another stencil here. What is the name of that? Not Cherished Memories. I don't know. I forget my stencil names. There are over 30 designs in our stencil line. Connie's an 8. Robin is a 1. That's okay. We're gonna fix that. Brony is a 7. That's pretty good. Pretty good, you guys. Offload, offload, offload. Thank you for sprinkling. Look at what a gorgeous background this has created. This is probably our #1 seller. This is the cottage lace stencil, and it does create a beautiful background for layering. There's stamps on there, there's molds on there, there's transfers on there. So let's get started. One of your issues is bleed through, and I love mixed media. Yeah, I tell you what, it really is the brush that you're using and the amount of paint and your offload. Okay, so let's just talk about, I'm gonna actually stencil on this, and I haven't decided, should we do this in black or should we do it in gold? My first thought was to do it in gold, but I'm not mad at the idea of black. I'm not mad at the idea of black. What do you think? Love the additional Adele. What do you think, ladies? First comment, black or gold? Black or gold? Anybody have an idea? You get bleed through when I swirl, but not when I pounce. But pouncing takes forever. How do I store them? I actually, once they're dry, I store them this way, once they're dry. That's how I store them, because I need to leave them out all the time, and it just makes it easy for me, right? You need more time to practice. Okay, I think we're gonna note both. Debbie says both. Debbie, both colors. Why are you gonna do that? Gold. Let's do gold. Gold was my first thought. So I picked up this box after Christmas. It was $25, believe it or not, at the Hobby Lobby, and I painted over it. It did say Merry Christmas on it. I painted over it with, actually, what did I paint it with? Blue Hills. Blue Hills. And, see, now y'all are saying black. To bleed through gold. I'm going to do gold. If it's not dark enough, I'll go over it with black. It's not a big deal. Although black would be probably, really on the fence, you guys. Black would probably stand out more. Maybe we should do it in black just to, I don't know. I'm going to take it down. That's the problem. My first thought was gold. I wonder if we did it in gold and then maybe did it in black and then maybe added gold a little bit. Curved surfaces are difficult for you. Terry, I won't be here this Thursday. Applying modeling paste sometimes bleeds. Denise, we're going to go over that in a future session, because we're just going to do a short and sweet session today just to get us started. So here is where it can get a little bit persnickety. I don't usually tape down, I gotta say. I don't usually tape down because I don't know why, I just don't. Let's talk about if you have a design that's very, very intricate and you're not very comfortable stenciling. Yes, I love Melanie Royal. She's actually here in San Diego. I was at her home years ago for a, years ago. I have stencils that I paid, gosh, I want to say 15 years ago, I probably paid almost $100 for. They were expensive. There used to be a store here in San Diego called Stencils and Interiors. Let's just do this. I'm going to show you. If you're not comfortable taping down, or if you tend to have bleed through, okay? Let's see. There's a couple of things. I have it on my Amazon shop. A lot of you have seen it already, where you can find it. Plaid makes one. This is Pixie Spray, and I'm just going to show you really quick. I don't usually use this, honestly. If you're not comfortable, watch. Just a light. Just a very, very light spray, okay? After you spray it, you need to let it wait. Wait about a minute or so. Just move up. Hey, Paula. Okay. You're a 1 on stenciling first. Oh my goodness. You like the idea? Yeah, that's what I'm thinking, Patty. I'm going to do black with a little bit of gold over it. I don't typically use adhesives, but if you really have a hard time with stenciling, you may want to try an adhesive. I very rarely, especially ladies in my group, I very rarely we'll use an adhesive. In fact, it doesn't even feel sticky. I didn't use very much. And again, this is where that awesome cleaner would come in handy. Let's get some paint. We're going to do 2 colors. We'll do black and we'll do a little bit of gold. Let's do that. Oh, may not do black. There we go. And I'm just going to work right off of that cap for now. And Catherine, the shadow, we will go into shadowing, but I just feel like that's a little bit more of an advanced technique. Okay, so look at that. Very, very little. Hardly goes up my brush at all. Offload, offload, offload. And a lot of the times I'll test it on my hand to see. You can see there's not a lot of paint there. So then we're going to go in. We're going to put this down. And I always start with a pounce just to see how much paint I've got. If it seems like I've got a lot, see there's not a lot of paint on there already, then I will go back in and start swirling. It's better to add 2 light coats than 1 heavy coat. Just go in a circular motion. I didn't use very much paint. I'll probably go back in with a 2nd coat. And you can see how quickly this goes. There's hardly any paint on my brush there. I'm not sure that this is going to be black enough. I might go back in for a round 2 here. See, not very much. Start with a pounce. I think I might want to go over this with the gold now, to be honest with you. Maybe so. I think we're going to do the gold. I think I'm changing my mind right here as we speak. Let's do the gold. I'm not liking it. Gold was my first choice, so I'm just going to go with that. There we go. There we go. Good morning, Debbie. How are you? Offload, offload, offload. Offload. Say it with me. Offload, offload, offload. Start with a pounce. Then I go in with a swirl. You can pounce if you're not comfortable swirling. Again, if you've got the wrong brush and you're swirling, you are going to get bleed through. You will, I'm just telling you, because your bristles are all fanned out like that. If you feel more comfortable pouncing, by all means pounce. I do both. You tend to get more paint when you pounce. You'll get less paint when you swirl. I do both. And the gold is not as bright without pouncing over the blue, but that's okay. So do what's comfortable for you. I can tell you what though, if you're a pouncer, you'll never have flabby arms. Some people prefer pouncing. Again, if you've got the right brush, you can go ahead and just move across your board. Thank you, Lisa. Offload, offload, offload. There's hardly any paint on my brush. I could see putting a little bit of bling on there. That little bit of black shadow actually looks good on there, believe it or not. That's okay because you hate gold. You do. You do, Julie? Swirl, pounce. Either one is acceptable. You need to find what's good for you. I do both. Like I said, I start out with a pounce just to see how much paint I've got going on, and I will always do that in an open area. Okay? So I've got a nice open area here. And I can't tape this down because of the direction. Because of it's just kind of overhanging, so there's really no place for me to tape it. So I'm just, it's probably not the best stencil to do because I actually may not have the best results because I don't have a really secure hold on it, but that's okay. Thank you. If I knew pouncing would have avoided flabby arms. Oh my goodness. So because these are 10 mil and they're very thick, it really is okay to pounce. And you're not, as long as you're using a good brush, you will not get bleed through. You really won't. So less paint, less paint, less paint, offload, offload, offload. Sometimes what I'll do is I'll take my brush with some delicate stencils you can't swirl. Absolutely. A lot of the times I'll do this. It's kind of like you put it down and then you just do like a little wiggle on it. And that really is a great way to get it in the area without swirling or without pouncing. Can you see that? So that's just another way you can stencil, set it down, and just twirl it around. Pouncing with your legs. That's funny. Okay? You see that? So if you're having a hard time with swirling and you don't like to pounce, I encourage you to try this. Set it down, just a little, like a little happy dance on there. Happy Saturday. Guys, thank you for sharing this. I'm so disappointed we couldn't go live on our Diva Designs page, but we will. We will. All right, lifts straight up. Lift straight up. Do not. Now, I did have the black underneath it, so I'm not crazy about that little shadow there, but I'm okay with that, you guys. Actually, it looks kind of cool. Look at that. Isn't that beautiful? You can see the black first. You can see that black paint first, but I'm okay with that because it does kind of look like a shadow. It almost looks intentional. Yeah, it's just a little, and then a little wiggle. A little wiggle, wiggle. Woo! It's getting warm. Hang on. All right, we got a little hot flash action going on. Hey, Nicole. All right, so we could do that again, or let's see, it's 10:34. Let's do another stencil, and let's layer this one. Let's layer this one. I am probably going to do that all the way around. Okay. And then I have just this little box. It was left over from Halloween, and we're going to do a Harmony stencil. We're going to create a really nice little background. So this one has got some raises in. I'm kind of picking difficult ones. Why, I don't know, but it's got a little bit of raises in there. And then let's go back to our dark paint. which is right here. Too much wiggling. I have stenciled on a bathroom wall. I've done raised stencils on a bathroom wall. Okay, offload, 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 offload. You can see I don't start out with very much paint, and then I go ahead and offload. Start with a pounce, and then this is just going to create a nice little background. And you can see, I know I don't have a lot of paint. You can see how quickly I'm moving. Our stencils do have registration marks. So you can line them up and complete. If you want to go all the way across. I use them with the Awesome Cleaner. Absolutely. All right, you see how nice and easy and crisp and clean that is? Super easy. These are not my new stencils. They are actually on their way now. I just got shipping notification. Once they're here, which should be this week, we're going to start. Our retailers have already started ordering them, and they are going to be on the way to our retailers. And as soon as they get here, we are going to release. So figure about a week and a half or so. Now, I'm not even going to load up my brush. Actually, I'm going to move this over just a little bit. I'm not even going to load up my brush. I'm just going to just keep moving. Very little paint. If you were to put this on your hand, you would see hardly anything. Look at that. There's hardly anything on there. This is a great background. Okay, done. Dry that. That's one of your favorite stencils. This is called Harmony. This is actually Amazing Grace in French. And let me just tell you a little trick about this stencil, because they're made to work together. If you take every other line out, you could fit it in between the music notes. Script is always a good idea. Okay, I'm not even loading that brush again, using the same paint. I'm just applying a little bit more pressure. I think most people feel like every time they go to another section that they need to reload their brush. Not the case. One dip, an offload, and I've stenciled 3 times. Each time I apply just a little bit more pressure to move that paint towards the tips. Easy. This is now you've got a great base for something else. So let's see, and maybe I'm giving you too much meat for the first lesson, but what if we layered another stencil on there? I know, script is a great background. Script is a fabulous background. Hang on, let's get this one. What if we were to layer, this is Classic Elements, and layer this maybe right here. Okay, let's try that. Let's take that down. Let's take that down. You used to reload all the time until you said not to. Yeah, absolutely, Linda. You don't need to reload your brush every time because it's still got paint on there. So we are just going to tape this down right here, and we're going to, again, just a little bit, just a little bit. Classic Elements is a great stencil. In fact, if we have any of our retailers on here that actually have these two stencils, go ahead and just put your link in there. Start pouncing. Actually, I want it a little bit darker. I wanted a darker color. A little darker color black. Do I have one over there? No, I have this. This is almost watery. Let's add this here. This is like water here. I feel like I'm wasting paint when you offload. Absolutely. Well, that's the thing. That's what stops most people from not offloading too much, because they feel, and I used to feel the same way. I used to feel the same way. Look how much paint is coming off. A lot. A lot. Yeah, this is still not dark enough. I want it dark enough to cover up the old stencil. So instead of using more paint, what am I going to do? I'm going to let it dry and go in for a second layer. Okay? I'm not reloading. What that would look like if I added a little gold on there. Let's see. You think we used this? Yes, we did. I think we did use this at Swag. Let's see. Let's see. Any questions? That. So it's creating kind of a black gold color. Kind of fun. That's kind of fun. You love that the stencil is in French? Yeah, if you know me, I love anything French. So when I want to put a little bit more pressure, I pounce. So it's got that black shading behind and just that little bit of gold at the top. Isn't that pretty? Now watch, we're going to layer this right in here. Oh, I have this one. Let's do this. We're going to layer a transfer right on there. Let's see. Yeah, it just gives it another dimension. I staple my transfer scraps together. So I got to get those staples out of there. And then I'm going to add this right here. zippity click, zippity zippity. Of course, now I'm looking for a transfer stick. Remember that post I put up? What's your most used words in your craft room? Where did I put that? All right, we're going to use them. Here we go. Here we go. Simple. Simple and easy. Always make sure to top coat your design with your top coat of choice. But that's a great way to layer stencils without going into anything way complicated. There we go. It just keeps the two pieces together. When I put staples in my transfers that I have left over, I staple them, otherwise the backing kind of gets dislodged from the front. Thank you, Barbara. Nothing is ever where you put it. Look how cute and easy that is. So we have that first Harmony stencil. We layered it over with the classic elements. I did it in gold first. I'm sorry, I did it in black first, and then I did it in gold, and it created just a little bit of a shadow, and it gave it kind of an interesting look. So you can definitely mix your paint colors together. And then we just layered it over with the transfer. Easy peasy, you guys. With mixed media, you can't be afraid of trying new things, going outside of my comfort zone. I love that. I love that. Are there any questions? Any questions? So we talked about quality of stencil. We talked about, so you don't need to top coat. I always top coat my surfaces anyway, just to protect them. Just because you don't want to go through all that work and then not have it be protected. And the reason why you want to do that is because if it falls or if it gets scratched, now if it's a piece of artwork, you'd probably be okay because you're probably not going to touch it. But it's never a bad idea just to give it a quick coat of top coat. So here is our one stencil, and I will take that all the way around. Okay, and don't be afraid to use bits and pieces of your stencil. As we move on with further lives, this is just a very, very basic. This is basically like your 101, okay? Our next live will be in 2 weeks. It probably won't be on the Diva Designs page because you thought you had to seal before transfers. You typically do, Jody, but this, I used an all-in-one paint, so it had a built-in top coat. So new stencils will probably be here in about 2 weeks. They are 3 designs are here. There are 3, 4. There are 5 new designs. 5? Yes, 5 new designs. 3 of them are here in house. There are 2 on the way. They are shipping. I just got shipping notification that they are on the way to us. They are made in the USA, by the way. Yay for the home team. Once they get to us, there will be a 1-week spacing, just so that our retailers can get them. A few of our retailers had already ordered them, so as soon as we had them on pre-order, so as soon as they come, they're shipping out. So I would say like 1 to 2 weeks is the next release. There's 5 new stencils. I can't wait to show you them because they're so good. Some for mixed media, a little bit for furniture. There's a little bit of everything. There's 2 in particular that I'm super excited about. I love to put as many things on a stencil as I can. If you look at this classic elements, it is chock full of everything, okay? You have some botanical, you have a little classic element here and in the corner, and then here's a layered bee. So this is the body of the bee, okay? So you would do this, say you would do this, I don't know, maybe in gold or yellow. And then you would, there's little registration marks. I don't know if you can see these little dots. You do your dots in pencil so you can erase them. Then you do this in gold, and then you take these dots and you line them up here and here, okay? And then you can do this part of the bee in black. And it gives you so much more of a realistic look to your stencils. Barbara says, I use your classic elements in your sunflower canvas. I love that one. Thank you, Barbara. I love all of the stencils. I often forget the names of them. It's fact because one of them, I asked a friend of mine, I was like, gosh, I need a name for this stencil. And of course, I'm always wanting something foofy and zhuzhy. And she goes, well, how about just, you know, she said that because there's two on one, it's an A4 size, and there's two designs on one sheet. So she just named the designs of each half. She goes, how about just whatever, A's and B's, you know? And I went, I don't know, that's too simple. She goes, but I'll never forget it that way. And I go, okay, you have a point there. So one is a very simple design, which it may be easier for me to remember as well. But all that to say, I do love adding as many elements on one stencil as I can, because then I feel it's a better value. This stencil is really a lot of variety, and don't be afraid to use bits and pieces of your stencil, just like I did here. I didn't use the whole thing, so I want to encourage you to think outside the box. I want to encourage you, if you're having a hard time with stenciling, whether it be bleed through or anything like that, please try again. You do not need to load up your paint every time you go to move your section, okay? So more than likely, there will already be paint in there, okay? Don't load your paint all the way up. It'll never reach. It'll never go from the ferrule down to the brisses. You like bougie names too? I do too, Debbie, but it's hard to remember them. There's 30 designs in my line, and they all have pretty interesting names, except the one that's coming is going to be really simple. I bet you'll never forget it. Anyway, thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen, for storing. Let me just, for joining us, let me just look and see. I think we had a question. How do I store my stencils? Deb's asking. A couple of different things I do, because I have a lot of stencils. My big stencils, I hang up. I put them on little clips. Because they're big, okay? So I will clip. Let me show you. Let me turn the camera around. Hang on, and let me show you how we store them in the shop. So at home, my big stencils get on hanger clips. Okay, here in the shop, we use these little shower curtain clips right here, and I hang them off these little shower curtain clips. Okay, so that's a great way. Hang on. That's a great way to store them. If I'm traveling, I put them in an envelope. I get one of these manila envelopes, and I can fit probably a good dozen stencils in there. So it depends on the size of your stencils. Some stencils you're not able, sorry, I'm moving you around. Some stencils you're not able to hang up because you don't have the space. Always lay them flat. If you can't hang them up, always lay them flat. Like when I travel, I'll probably put a good bunch of them, and then I just store them in here. This will fit a 12 by 12 stencil. You see that? That'll fit a 12 by 12 stencil, and I could easily put 12, 13, 14 stencils in there easily. So if you're out of space and you can't necessarily, let me just scroll up a little bit, and you can't necessarily, no double dipping in stencils, exactly. You may not have the room to store them vertical like this. So I do that. If you do not have one of those, you can just get yourself like a UPS box, not UPS. Go to the post office and get one of their flat rate boxes, and just either seal one end and tuck them in there, or you can even cut it and then just have it open. Okay? You use skirt hangers. Yeah, skirt hangers are great, but if you don't have the room, to hang them, not everybody does, okay? If you don't have the room to hang them, store them flat. That's the best way to keep them protected, okay? If there's no more questions, we are going to sign off. Thank you so much for joining me on my first segment. I apologize that we're not on the Diva Designs page, but we will be definitely next month. I will be back here again in 2 weeks, not next Saturday, the Saturday after that. Our plan is what's today? Today is the 12th, the second and fourth Saturday of every month. Sandy stores hers and all those hard mailing envelopes. Yeah, they're great. They're great. Anyway, artist portfolio is great too. Like I said, I tend to go with things that I already have, but if you can Get yourself a nice artist portfolio. They're great. Also, if you've got A4 or smaller size stencils, you can also put them in those 12 by 12 boxes. I actually store my stamps in those 12 by 12 boxes that I get either Michael's or Hobby Lobby. Those are great for smaller size stencils. But these 12 by 12s, I don't think that will fit in that box, but you know what? They may. But they may. Okay, God bless you, ladies. I will see you on my main page this week, and then on this page again back for our session number 2. Let me know in the comments what you would like to see for our second lesson. My new stencils come out within the next couple of weeks, Judy. Thank you for asking. And I'll make an event as well. Okay, love you, ladies. Ciao for now. Bye-bye.